What's going on, guys? Romer the Romer. In this video, I'm gonna go over 9 things that happened to me after quitting caffeine. So the reason why I quit caffeine is I wanted to be more productive. Caffeine made me feel productive. I'd wake up in the morning, I would drink my cup of coffee, and I felt great, but I would crash in the afternoon. And even though I felt great, I think I felt too good. I would drink my cup of coffee and I'd sit down, I would start working. And it was just like, my brain was going everywhere. And I felt so good checking my email. I felt so good doing all these little things, but I really wasn't getting much done. Because what caffeine does, and this is according to Alex Becker video, which I'll link below. If you guys want to learn more about the negative effects of caffeine, you can watch that video. It's by Alex Becker. He does a great job of breaking things down. I'm not going to touch too much on the science of all this, but basically my brain would have a lot of dopamine and serotonin. It'd feel like I was winning. And then I wouldn't pursue wins in my business, if that makes sense. So I felt good just checking my email. That's not winning. Winning is, making more money. Winning is building scalable systems. For me, that's winning. I was just feeling good, just drinking coffee and checking my email. So I wanted to take that stimulant and stimulus away and actually have to work for my wins in life. So that's why I quit caffeine. I also had anxiety where just like I was feeling anxious for no reason. And caffeine would exacerbate that. Caffeine would make that worse. So I knew that caffeine would stimulate my body to the point where my heart rate would be going up, my adrenal glands would be producing cortisol. I knew that all this was gonna be happening in my body, and I just figured I might as well take that extra stress away. So before I get into the 9 things that happened to me after quitting caffeine, I wanna break down really what caffeine does to your body. So caffeine's a stimulant. That means it gets your nervous system going. A stimulant increases your heart rate, increases your breathing, it produces cortisol in your veins, just like cocaine and nicotine do. These stimulants really get you going for the day. So caffeine was getting me up, but I was crashing and I wasn't able to have sustainable energy throughout the day, and that's what I wanted. Caffeine also blocks adenosine receptors. So adenosine receptors are in your brain and they make you feel tired. So these receptors are hanging out in your brain, and then adenosine binds with them before you go to sleep at night, and that you feel tired and you go to sleep. What caffeine does is it binds with that receptor, and it doesn't have the same effect as adenosine, but it blocks it. So caffeine acts as an adenosine blocker because it blocks adenosine from binding with the receptors. And what your body does to compensate for this is your body makes a lot more receptors. So all of a sudden you have 10, 20 receptors, whereas before you had 5. I'm making these numbers up, but you have more receptors than you did previously. So I was tired in the afternoon because all those receptors were empty. And the first 4 weeks were rough doing this. The first 4 weeks were really bad. The first week, my roommate was still here and we do lots of business together, and we were shooting Facebook ads, and it was a really important week because the week after that he was leaving. So this is the week I quit caffeine, and I like to think I have pretty good willpower. I'm a pretty tough guy. And that first week I really pulled it out of my ass to not drink any coffee and to stay focused. I was still putting in 8-10 hour days. But that Saturday, when my roommate left, I just crashed. I think there was like a backlash. So for me, the first week wasn't that bad, but the second and third week were the worst. The second and third week, I really felt like I went into a slight depression and just didn't have much energy to get going. And I was really also extremely addicted to my phone during this time, and I feel like it was because coffee was such a stimulant to my brain that I was looking for other quick wins. So I would open up my phone, I would be on the computer more. I started watching Netflix. I never watched Netflix, and I was kind of letting myself be a slob for a few weeks. I knew that this was the effects of caffeine withdrawal. So I went through that for about 4 weeks. Even the 4th and 5th week were still not the best. And Alex Becker talks about this. You see your business fall apart in front of you. So before this happened, I made sure that I was in a position where, my business could operate without me for a while, because I was having to deal with, not being 100%. I was like 30% during these first 5 weeks. Now I drink caffeine once a month. So once a month I'll drink caffeine, and I'll talk about what really happens when I drink caffeine now in a second. But without further ado, let's get into the 9 things that happened to me after quitting caffeine. The first thing, physically, I feel better when I sleep. So when I wake up in the morning, I feel rested. And this is why before I quit caffeine, I would stop drinking caffeine at 11 o'clock, because caffeine stays in your system. Caffeine stays in your system for a super long time. When you go to sleep at night, I don't know what the half-life of caffeine is, but you still have remnants of caffeine in your blood, and it really screws up your sleep cycle. So my sleep has improved. I wake up feeling more rested. Something else, and I think this might be unique to me, and I don't know if this is related to the stress response or actual effects of caffeine, but my skin. I have breakouts on my face quite often, and I've noticed that these breakouts, when they do occur, which they didn't occur for like the first 5 weeks of quitting caffeine, they're back now, but that might be because I drink caffeine once a month. So who knows, maybe it is caffeine that's still causing it. But my face really cleared up. I used to have these like red, and it's never been as bad as it was before. Now when it comes, it's like very light. But I noticed whenever I was stressed, these breakouts would happen on my face. It's almost like eczema. The dermatologist isn't sure what it is, but that has diminished. And also dandruff. So dandruff, I have dandruff in my hair. I can do this and it looks like it's snowing. And for a while, it just disappeared. No dandruff, and then again it came back. I can't draw all these conclusions to quitting caffeine, but I did notice it's not as bad when it comes, and it was gone for a long time. And again, I introduced caffeine again. I drink caffeine once a month, so who knows, maybe drinking caffeine causes these negative effects. Social anxiety is extremely diminished. Even like making YouTube videos, I make a lot of Facebook ads for my business. It's been much easier to shoot. Like I don't have to shoot the video 10 times. Like I feel good, I'm ready to go. I don't really get nervous anymore. And whenever I would drink caffeine, I remember one time I drank caffeine before I gave a public talk on selling books, and it was crazy. I don't know why I did this, but I drank 5 cups of coffee before I gave a presentation on selling books on Amazon, and my hands were shaking. I had my phone in my hand with notes. It was just going crazy. I always knew caffeine was caused anxiety, but I almost looked at it as a challenge. Like, I'm gonna drink as much caffeine as possible, pump my blood with this fear-mongering hormone, and see if I can pursue on anyway. So it's kind of like a challenge to me, but living every day like that, I just wasn't being the human I could be. I was holding a lot back from the world because I was a fearful fuck. Literally, I was a fearful fuck because I was pumping this caffeine into my body, and I just felt like I was up all the time. Like, I'm naturally like a very energetic guy. Like, I'm always like going. It doesn't take much to get me stimulated. I go to a party, talk to 3 people, I'm good. Like, I'm ready to go after that. Like little tiny things will get me extremely stimulated. So I think this caffeine, I think it stimulated me much more than other people. I talk to other people about their effects with caffeine, and they don't have the same as me. I'm sure some of you can relate. I drink caffeine. I always tell them this: if you guys don't feel the effects of caffeine that I'm feeling, like, you're not drinking enough caffeine. I would drink caffeine and I would just feel like amazing. And once a month I drink caffeine now, and I'll tell you the difference, the different effect it has on me now, but it gets me going. I still love caffeine, but I just can't do it every day. Because if I do it every day, I'm really draining my energies. I'm taxing my system. My adrenal glands are fatigued because they're pumping out all these hormones. So my overall stress levels have been lower as well. So that goes hand in hand with social anxiety, but just, I don't freak out anymore. Like, I lay down in bed at night, and I used to have like these really dark thoughts, but not really anymore. My brain doesn't go there. Like, I think I can separate myself from fear better now. Whereas when I was drinking caffeine, my body was fear, so I felt more fearful. if that makes sense. I'm more able to, like, when these thoughts come in my head, I don't take my brain doesn't take them and run with them. I'm like, okay, here's a fearful thought of something that might happen in my business or something that might happen in my life, and I can just leave it at that. But when I was on caffeine or really stressed, like, I'm not saying this is completely gone, but I would just identify with it. And so I don't really have that anymore. One thing that happened, this isn't necessarily good, but I'm much more sensitive to light. So at nighttime when I take my phone out, my phone used to be broken, so here's my phone now. But on the side, it used to have like a strip of light because I dropped it. I dropped my phone, I had a strip of light. Got a new phone last week, so I don't have it anymore. So my phone was brighter than a normal phone. And this was even pre-caffeine. So when I quit caffeine, I noticed that my eyes were much more sensitive to the light, to the point where, like, it got me up and going at nighttime. Whereas, like, even on caffeine before, even if I had caffeine in the afternoon before, I could still go to sleep at night. But when I quit caffeine, it was actually like, if I had my phone near me at nighttime, if I have my phone near me at nighttime, it keeps me up. It pumps stress hormones in my body, similar to the way caffeine does. So I think I'm more sensitive to light now because my body's not exhausted by the caffeine. I think when I drink caffeine, my body's exhausted by the caffeine, and at nighttime, when my brain sees light, it's not sensitive enough to the light to really do anything. But now that I don't have that caffeine in me draining my adrenals, when I look at the light, it really does something to me. So that is something I've noticed. I've had more sustained focus. So it is 2:30 right now. In the past, at 2:30, I'd be getting my workout in, and I would dance, and then basically my day would be over. So I'd wake up at 6 o'clock, work until 2, and then get everything else done that's important to me, dancing. And it was a decent schedule, but I couldn't really work at night. I couldn't work late afternoon. And now that I don't have caffeine, like, my energy levels are much more sustained. So I don't have to freak out about getting all my stuff done first thing in the morning. And Alex Becker talks about this. He used to wake up at 4 o'clock, get all of his work done by 8 o'clock in the morning, and then after that, whatever happened. It's the same thing with me. Like, I can work all day, I can go work out, I can dance later, and I can get back to work. So I can consistently work without having to worry about a crash. Because it's great when you're on caffeine, you feel like you're getting so much done, but this is actually way better because my brain still craves that dopamine spike, and the only way to get that dopamine spike is A, look at my phone, so I gotta hide my phone, or B, actually do good shit in the world and win in my business, win in my life, actually accomplish something. Yeah, so I told you guys I was gonna tell you about what happens when I drink caffeine now. So I had caffeine, I think it's almost 2 weeks ago it's for the second time. The first time I had caffeine, I had 1 cup the first time, 1 cup of coffee. I think it was a latte actually. And that time I actually stayed up to like 12 working. The second time I had caffeine, I had a latte with a couple shots in it. It's actually like 4 shots. This is a lot of caffeine. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I stayed up to like 4 or 5 working. And one of my rules when I drink caffeine now is I'm not allowed to work. So it was like midnight, and I was making content. I took a bath. I was doing like all this crazy stuff. I was just trying to get myself tired, And then it was 12 o'clock, and I was like so inspired to write emails. I was so inspired to like do different things in my business. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sleep right now, so I'm going to work. So I work till 4 o'clock. So caffeine is much more powerful now. Caffeine really, really affects me. I feel the effects. It's almost like a different feeling too. It's more like it's an interesting feeling in your head. It's like in your head, I never felt like a head high off caffeine like this before, but in my head it's almost like buzzing, like more endorphins or something. It's definitely a different feeling because I think my body, all the receptors I was talking about at the beginning of this video, your body will take those away. So that they go away. So now my adenosine receptors are just completely blocked by caffeine. So like I'm not tired at all. I think it's something along those lines. And my body's just more sensitive to it. So like I react differently, but it's like a head high. Whereas before I just really felt caffeine in my body. So it's interesting. The last thing I noticed was, and these are in no particular order, better shits. My poop has been, and I know this sounds weird, but that is like the #1 thing you can look at for your health, like how healthy you are as a human being, is what does your poop look like. Type in, it's Paul Chek. Type in Paul Chek on Google, poop chart, and it shows you like what's healthy poop and what's not healthy poop. And my digestive system just isn't stressed the way it was before. You know, we have a GI tract that goes down from our throat all the way down to when we poop. And when you're on caffeine, caffeine's not only an irritant to your stomach, it's also a stimulant to your nervous system. So part of being a stimulant to your nervous system is it squeezes all this stuff down. So my poops have been more Lincoln Log-ish and less, my roommate's laughing at me right now, and less like skinny, like, you know, like the weird poops you get. I just don't have those anymore. I have very healthy shits. So that's the last benefit. And again, I think in the future when you go to the doctor, they'll have you, they'll look at your poop rather than, have you pee in a cup. That's just me thinking out loud. If I predicted the future correctly, and you're watching this in 2040, let me know. If you guys enjoyed that content, like, comment, subscribe. There's more content coming like this. I got requests for more biohacking. So if you guys have questions or you want to comment, why you're going to quit caffeine, or maybe you don't want to quit caffeine and you think this whole thing's silly, comment that below. Much love, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you in the next video. Peace out.
Sir, and welcome to the freaking well show, and party central to my well ones. A night of violated hell codes. Dope sells like the charge do, but selling's all about potential, and money speaks, then I'm the man.